everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we are coming to you with your Grammys 2021 red carpet review. It was a very eventful night. There was twists, there was turns, there was fashion, there was FASHUN. Honestly, I had a good time. I really can't complain. It was very, very enjoyable for me. So without further ado, let's just get straight into these looks. So first up is Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. Let's talk about Anderson .Paak first. He is wearing Gucci. Honestly, I understand the whole 70s sort of flare pant style with a big sort of blazer that's full of paisley prints. Maybe they're not paisleys, I'm making that up. They definitely have an Eastern feel. They're definitely not something you'd find in Florence, you know, the origin of Gucci, or anywhere sort of Italian-esque in my opinion. But breaking it down, the blazer, a little bit too big for me, and I also think the motif on the blazer just isn't really too eye-catching. It's very busy, and so you'd want it to be eye-catching, but it's not really getting much from it. Underneath is the sort of peachy, orangey, creamy sort of button-down shirt. Again, nothing really too interesting going on there. The black flare pants, I wish they were a little bit more fitted at the thigh because then the flare would be a little bit more dramatic, but they just sort of fall strangely and I don't love that either. And honestly, I feel like Alessandro Michele is sort of going for a 1970s feel here. He's always sort of gone for a 70s sort of thing, but now I'm getting a little bit more Tom Ford Gucci-esque sort of referencing going on. It's not that well cut in my opinion. I also don't think it's well fitted, and I think that just makes for a really, really bad combination. As for Bruno Mars, I actually think he looks pretty good. I believe that he is also wearing Gucci. I could be wrong, but I like the black blazer. I feel like it's at an appropriate length. I like the flare pants, not really because I like the flare pants. I think they have a very similar problem to Anderson .Paak's pants where it's just a little bit too baggy on the thigh, so it doesn't really give you a dramatic flare. But the blazer and the pant are both black, and so in that regard, you have a feeling that makes a little bit of sense. The shirt has that roughly 1970s feel at the placket, which is the part with the buttons. That's one of my menswear buzzwords, placket. But there's also a bow tie and a little red rose, and it feels a little bit prom-y, but it's 1970s prom. And then they also were doing Silk Sonic or Sonic Silk. It was their, I don't know if it's a band that they've started or if it's a group. I don't know what it is. I don't do the music thing. But it just felt like it sort of played more into that reference. So I understand where both Anderson and Bruno are sort of coming from in this 1970s sort of feel, but I think Anderson's is a little bit lackluster, where Bruno, I think it makes sense, but I'm also not super duper indulged in it, unfortunately. Next up is Bad Bunny, and he is wearing Burberry. This man is very interesting to me. I like his little hat. Now this is from the fall 2021 menswear collection that Burberry recently showed, and to me this collection actually had a very Ricardo feel to it. I didn't really look at it too heavily, but it definitely reminds me a lot of sort of Givenchy styles, which I think for Ricardo is good to sort of defer back to. It's a sort of black wool coat. It has buttons. It's a black button down, and there's some sort of weird leather diamond cut. Maybe it's meant to be a new take on a tie. I'm not really sure, but it's interesting nonetheless. There's some sort of pleated skirt underneath that I kind of wish wasn't covered up by the coat because it would have been a little bit more interesting to see. A sort of black legging and a chunky black boot. And honestly, it's not really amazing. I do kind of wish that Bad Bunny was a little bit more out there. I feel like there were a couple more interesting looks from that Burberry collection that could have been sort of taken out. I feel like, had we removed the jacket from this and just gotten the shirt and the sort of pleated skirt with the leggings, I would have loved it a lot more. I feel like there's no point of having this gigantic coat over it. I feel like it just makes everything underneath it useless. I can't see it, I'm not understanding it. This isn't a fashion show, so we're not trying to sell me on all of the different pieces. I would have just liked to see it without the coat. I could have had that real good Riccardo Tisci Givenchy punky sort of dark gothic vibe that I really do enjoy. And so yeah, that's a little bit disappointing, but I like the hat. The hat's fun. The hat's cute. I feel like it references the fact that his name is Bad Bunny because it has little ears, so you know, that's enjoyable. Next up is somebody I was not expecting to see. I'd heard rumblings. I'd heard little rumblings and tumblings that Queen Beyonce might be in attendance at the Grammys, but you know, you never know. You just hear things. But she's wearing custom Schiaparelli. Now, she's wearing an off-the-shoulder black leather sort of gathered Schiaparelli dress. It's a cocktail cut. It's nothing too crazy in the dress department. But I think the thing that Beyonce is very, very smart in is she understood that the dress wasn't really meant to be the most exciting part of this look. And I think it fits really, really well. It's gathered, it's sort of pull, it's sort of texturized leather, which I think is nice. But the gloves and the earrings were really like the stars of the show, which is very important to me. So the earrings sort of have this like long, thick gold sort of bony structure, and then it falls into like an eggplanty sort of orb. Now that is very reminiscent of the spring 2021 haute couture jewelry that Daniel Roseberry showed during his Schiaparelli collection. Honestly, I think more and more that Daniel Roseberry understands that these accessories are really important to Schiaparelli. They add a real sort of elegance. They allow him to really play on realism in a more sort of everyday form. And this might be a good way for customers to sort of buy into the brand without having to necessarily buy haute couture. So in that regard, like, yeah, the earrings are a little bit out there, but they definitely are statement pieces. They definitely are sort of more surrealist and definitely very heritageal to the brand. I also love the gloves. They are opera-length black leather gloves, and on the tips they have little gold nails, and I think it's cute. I think it's really, really fun. I like the style. I think that it adds to the sort of black and gold aspect. I think it shines wonderfully off of that Grammy, which, I mean, I'm sure Beyonce knew she was gonna get a Grammy. I'm sure she knew. I feel like Beyonce, if she knew she wasn't gonna get a Grammy, wouldn't have showed up. But I feel like it's just a great way to sort of play into the elegance of, you know, holding a Grammy. The black and the gold, it sort of all plays together really, really well. I think the dress really was just a sort of blank canvas for the accessories that are very important to Schiaparelli under Daniel Roseberry to sort of be the main focus. And honestly, I like that. I do like when somebody really understands the fact that the dress doesn't have to be the main thing. If there are other elements of fashion involved, you can let them be the stars of the show. And so in that regard, I'm very happy with this Beyonce look. And anybody not happy, like, you weren't even gonna get Beyonce to come. So take what you can get, people. So next up is Billie Eilish, and she is wearing a custom Gucci look. Now it's a pink sort of jacquardy style with some sort of foliage in gray. And then there's this big multi-tiger black embroidery all throughout the hat, the mask, the shirt, and the pants. And in reality, I do think that the tiger motif, it works. It makes sense. It's a part of Alessandro Michele's sort of Gucci isms. He's been putting, you know, tigers all over belts and shirts and shoes and whatever it's possible to put a tiger on, he puts a tiger on it. So in reality, I think this is a good way to sort of take that tiger motif and bring it into something a little bit new, a little bit different. I won't say it's revolutionary because it's not, but at least it's something we haven't exactly seen before from Gucci. I do think the pink on Billie is really, really nice. The bucket hat, I think, plays into, you know, Billie's sort of tomboy-esque style. I think the matching mask, also very, very smart. I feel like Billie, honestly, in a mask, actually very enjoyable to see. You know, she's a gorgeous gal, but I do think that, you know, seeing a matching mask is actually really enjoyable. It's kind of nice considering we review fashion shows on here and oftentimes the designers don't show masks with their looks, and it's very kerfuffling to me because, like, it's a whole business sector that you're missing out on, but I digress. I also think the pants fit kind of well, and you know what, I'll be honest with this Billie look in particular. I think that while yes, the look is still oversized in a sense, it's not Billie wearing sort of like a Violet Beauregard from Willy Wonka, like, blue jumpsuit because she's a gigantic blueberry style. I'm not saying that that's a bad style. It's kind of grown on me over time, but I do like that she's sort of going for things that are less as gigantic. I feel like it gives a little bit of range. It showcases a different sort of side of Billie, and I think that's cool. The shoes I'm not obsessed with, but like, listen, I'll take the rest of it. It's different for Billie, and so like, I'm enjoying it in that sense. The other look that Billie wears is a denim look, and it's full of some sort of silver embroidery. It looks like it's some sort of, I don't know, maybe it looks like another tiger motif going on there, but she's wearing this like very nice sort of bedazzled, bejeweled headpiece, which gives me like 1920s sort of vibes, which I do really enjoy. You know, there's gloves that have sort of embroidery on the fingers, which I feel like is really, really nice. I like seeing gloves come back. I feel like because of COVID, they've sort of, you know, etched their way back into style. The Jeans, like, I'm not obsessed, but at the same time, like, I like the rays of crystals sort of coming out of them. And the jeans seem to have some sort of like floral motif on them, which I've been doing a little bit of Gucci research, and like the floral motif from Gucci is very signature to the house. It's very iconic. It sort of came about because of Princess Grace Kelly of Monaco. So if you must sort of look at it from that perspective, and it seems like it has more of like a tie-dye, punky sort of feel because it's Billie. I'm not obsessed with the look here either. I like certain elements of it, but again, it feels like it's a little bit different from what Billie normally does, so I'm kind of happy to see a little bit of range from Billie. I hope to see more range from her in the future. Next up, BTS. Let's talk about their full Louis Vuitton looks. I'm gonna say overall, I understand that BTS likes to tone it down a little bit when they come to the West, or, you know, they are showing or performing in the West, but I am kind of upset about this because they pulled looks from a really great collection. The fall 2021 Louis Vuitton collection by Virgil Abloh was stunning. I think it was probably his magnum opus. Like, it is a fantastic collection. If you haven't seen it, you can watch a review of it. It's really, really good. It's full of really beautiful, in-depth references that I really, really enjoyed. And whoever is BTS's stylists, they've like taken all the really exciting pieces out of the looks here and sort of just made it so minimal. Like, it upsets me because I think each of these young men have personality. Like, they're their own person. And so I understand while they're part of a group, I do think that adding in these sort of cool elements of fashion into each of their looks allows their personalities to shine through a little bit more. And I think it just is a little bit more exciting. It adds a little bit of a punch. It's like, oh my God, BTS is here, and like they're turning looks in Louis Vuitton. Like, that's fun. Having them all look minimal, like a Jill Sander collection, not as fun, you know what I mean? So let's start from the very left, and let's start with V. He's wearing this oversized beigey sort of camel suit with a white button-down shirt underneath. It's gigantic, it's oversized. I don't think it's exciting. I don't think it's interesting. There was like a gigantic fur coat over it, and I don't know why we've removed that. I understand maybe V is not into fur, and that's fine, but like, we could have brought something else in to make it cool, to make it interesting, to make it fun, to make it exciting. Like, this is what I mean, is you have these really interesting pieces here that add a little bit of grandeur, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of personality, and yet we take away the pieces that make it exciting, make it personal, make it individualistic. And so I understand they're part of a group, but I want to see their personality shine through each of them, because like, they're not cookie cutter. You know what I mean? Like, they're not all the same person. They're different. So show me the difference, please. Next up is Suga, and he is wearing a black sort of, it's like a vest with a button-down shirt underneath and like a black pant and like black shoes with white soles. Suga deserves better. Come on, people, listen, it's a black vest and a button-down shirt. Like, it's the Grammys. They're interesting, they're exciting, they're fun, they're cool, they're young, they're hip. Like, why? Why is it so blah? Next up is Jin, and he is wearing a black suit with a white button down, a black tie, and a black pant and black sort of loafers. Again, it's boring. Like, it's just boring. It's not exciting. It's not fun. It's not interesting. There are so many looks from that collection, like the plaid looks, the skirts, you know, there's so much stuff in there that could have been utilized. They look like bankers. They look like corporate bankers. For what? Next up is Jungkook. He looks like a corporate banker that just got off of work and he's on his way to play his next squash game. Like, why? Why? Like, why is it so boring? It's a black blazer, a white button down, a black pair of pants, and a black shoe. They're exciting, they're fun, like, they're dynamite. That's the song, they're promoting dynamite. Why do they not look like dynamite? This is annoying to me, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm gonna get dragged by the army, but like, you know, listen, troops, militarize, like, tell them, make them look exciting. It's very sad, it's depressing. Next up is RM, and he's wearing a beigey camel-y sort of sweatsuit. This is like one of the only sort of exciting looks, and I'm using exciting very sparingly here. So it does have this sort of plush stuffed animal sort of style on. It was first saw during spring 2021, I believe, and then it was sort of brought over sparingly into fall 2021. It's there and it's something different, so like, I guess I'm happy about it, but I don't like the sweatsuit look. I feel like it's kind of weird. Like the hoodie is interesting because it does have more of like a formal sort of tailored style, which I do think is different and I do think it's kind of nice. And then the pants, like, you know, it's giving me very like mom going on a speed walking group at like 3 p.m. before she picks up the kids. And like, that's kind of upsetting to me because like, again, they're meant to be exciting. They're meant to be interesting. They're meant to be fun. They're meant to be cool. And it's giving me mom, and that's sad. I don't want it to give me mom. Next up is Jimin, and he is wearing a pinstripe suit, and like, it's a blah. It's a pinstripe suit. I've seen one before, many times. Is it exciting? No, not at all. So I'm depressed. Finally is J-Hope, and like, he's giving me hope because he's wearing this gigantic plaid sort of flannelly fabric flower, and like, thank God there's some personality going on here. J-Hope has like the luck of the Irish, and I'm enjoying it. So there's a black sort of sweater vest, a white button-down shirt, a black pant, and he's wearing those like faux Vuitton Jordans, which I think are really funny, but I just like the fabric flower. I feel like it adds excitement. It adds something a little bit different. It's kind of cute. Like vests are kind of in, and like it does play into their whole like dynamite sort of style too. So in that regard, like J-Hope is the only one that I'm approving. There's 1 out of 7 looks that are good here for me, and that's like upsetting. I'm sad about that. So BTS stylists, can you, I don't know, like do your jobs and make them look like individual young men who have personalities and are not part of like a set that you buy at the local store. It's just, it's sad and it's upsetting to me. I'm depressed about this. Next up is Chika, and she is wearing Nike and Versace. Now, this is a custom Nike set. It's sort of tie-dye of like seafoamy green, pink, and purple. Honestly, I don't love it. It's just, my thing is, I see a purple Versace bag in her hand, and I say to myself, there's no way that there aren't like good Versace looks from the spring 2021 collection that could not have been adapted to Chika. I just think that they would have been much more exciting, much more fun, much more different. And like, I want to see Chika in like fashion moments. Listen, I'm not saying that like a sweatsuit and a sort of tailored sweat jacket is not a fashion moment, but it's not a fashion moment to me. The mask I love. I like the fact that it has a ruffle. I feel like that's exciting. I feel like that's different. The shirt and the pants, you know, they're fine. There's some sort of embroidery. I guess maybe it says Chika on it, but like, I don't think Chika's gonna lose her pants and she's not gonna need to find them anywhere. I don't know if we need to embroider her name on it. The sweatshirt, I can't see it too much, but like, I guess it's fine. It plays into, you know, the color scheme going on in the jacket. It's there. Do we need the Nike swoosh embroidery on it? I don't think so, but honestly, I'm kind of disappointed in this. I would have loved a nice Versace look for Chika. I would have liked, I don't know, like a nice Valentino, oh, an Alexander McQueen suit. Like there are looks that could have actually like worked and made Chika look really, really dapper. I feel like Chika's not the type to like show up in a big ball gown or like a skin tight dress, but I think that's fine. But I think finding a style that actually makes Chika look cool and interesting and dapper and fun and not like a bad tie-dye experiment is something that I want. That's something that I need. I feel like there are moments that could be happening and they're not happening, and we need to find out why that's not happening. Next up is Chloe Bailey. I'm obsessed. I'm truly obsessed. I love this dress. This dress, not only does it fit well, not only is it a good Louis Vuitton custom piece, but it has a beautiful reference back to Louis Vuitton heritage that we're gonna get into in a minute. Let's talk about this dress first. So it's a fitted, nice strapped gown. It has silver tiger stripe motif all throughout it, and then underneath that is black and gold sort of little stripes, and I actually think that it works really, really well. I think Nicolas Ghesquière has been playing on like tiger motifs. I feel like we saw it a couple weeks ago. I don't know. It's definitely a look that we have seen before, and so I'm actually kind of happy about it. And I think that the black sort of stripes that match the sort of black straps of the dress as well as the sleeves. The gold sort of bounces off the gold underneath there as well. And then you have this sort of latexy boot. I'm not obsessed with the boot. It's not really a boot. It looks like it's like a latex platform sandal, and like that kind of makes it a little bit better because I'm sort of interested in the process of putting on latex platform sandals. but there could have been a better shoe. The thing that I think is the best about this, I do think this tiger silver motif is really, really lovely. I think it's really, really exciting. I think it's really, really fun. But the gold and the black stripes are actually a nod to the inside of very early Louis Vuitton trunks. Now, I own a Louis Vuitton trunk from the 1860s. I'm not actually sure if it's real or not, and my problem is not really whether or not it's real or not. She's sort of beat up. Here's pictures of what she looks like inside, and you can see that there are stripes inside of her. But I will say about my Louis Vuitton trunk, if it's real, great. If it's fake, I own one of the oldest fake Louis Vuitton products in the world. So like, who's losing here? Not me. Anyway, back to the stripes. The stripes essentially were the things that lined the inside of these Louis Vuitton trunks by none other than Louis Vuitton himself. Like, he came up with the style, it made it sort of like an interesting style for the rich and famous to buy, and I think that that is what Négligé Scare is actually referencing here, and if that is true, I love it. I think it's really, really cool. I think it's a really, really nice way to sort of reference back to the actual heritage of Louis Vuitton. And Négligé Scare honestly was hired because he invented the Petite Malle bag back in like 2012, 2013, and that bag is a reference back to the Louis Vuitton trunk, which is the sort of iconic Trianon trunk that made Louis Vuitton a sort of household name. Well, I mean, I guess more so the monogram made him a household name, but like the Trianon trunk was really like super duper important in the history of Louis Vuitton. So in that regard, I think that this actually has a really beautiful moment and nod to the past of Louis Vuitton, but still incorporates the sort of excitement, bubbly, futuristic feel of Négligé Scare's work, and I think it's combined really, really well, and I'm very, very proud of it. And I also just think it's a beautiful dress. Like, I just think it's a really, really stunning look. I'm very happy about it. Chloe, chef's kiss, you look stunning. Serena Akers, thank you. Next up is Cynthia Erivo, and she is also wearing Louis Vuitton. Honestly, I don't really believe in the mixture of silver and gold, but like Cynthia Erivo is changing my mind about it. So it's a sort of classic sequined silver dress. It's a gown, it's there. There's sort of a deep plunging V. There's sort of like cutouts on the side, but there's some sort of like gold sequin and or chainmail-y sort of like capelet that comes over. I don't really know how it works, but I do kind of like it. I do think it's exciting. I do think that it adds sort of two precious metals together in a way, or they're not really precious metals, but two of the precious metal colors that normally either you're a gold person or you're a silver person, and the people in the middle are very chaotic in my opinion. But I kind of like the chaos here. I think it's exciting. I don't love the belt of gold. I understand it sort of plays into the cape up top, but where you don't need a belt, you don't need a belt. That's just me. Honestly, I mean, I've seen better from Cynthia Erivo in the past, and I don't think that this is a bad look, but I do think it's a look that, again, is sort of like challenging the notions that Cynthia is like a one-show pony. I think that she can do a lot of sort of different styles, and she's been showing us a lot of sort of grand, oversized, big, debutante sort of styles of big ball gowns or sort of gigantic poofs of fabric, where this, I feel like, is more about texture, it's more about color, and so, like, I appreciate that. So honestly, again, I'm just excited to see what Cynthia Erivo does next. Next up is Doja Cat. All right, so like I'm sort of in the middle with this Doja Cat look. So this is a custom look by Fausto Puglisi, which is really a reference back to archival Roberto Cavalli looks. So Fausto Puglisi is currently the creative director of Fausto Puglisi, in case you didn't know. So there essentially was this sort of motocross dress that was like a cocktail dress, and then there also was this like cocktail dress that was covered by these Oscar the Grouch colored feathers. And so Fausto Puglisi, in his collage-y style, which like, you might not like it, but that's what he does. That's his whole shtick. He's collaged them together. So in that regard, this is a reference back to Roberto Cavalli, like iconic, I don't know what season it's from. Bam, we want to shout out to Mugler Eyes, who is a Twitter account that pointed this out. In that regard, points. I can't take credit off because like, Cavalli is tacky. Cavalli is gauche. Cavalli is gaudy. Cavalli is like quintessential American. It all plays into the brand tropes of Cavalli. And so at this point in my existence of understanding fashion, if I was to be mad about Cavalli being gauche, I then would have to be mad about like Prada being ugly, or I'd have to be mad about like Versace being sexy, or I'd have to be mad about Louis Vuitton making monogram bags. Like, that is what it is. And so I can't expect something that it's not from what it is, if that makes sense. To me, this is gauche, this is gaudy, this is tacky, this is gross, this is just, it's kind of ugly. But I think that that is Cavalli-esque. And then when you put in the fact that Fausto Puglisi likes to collage, you take the fact that Doja Cat wears crazy, weird ass shit all of the time, it makes sense. Like, that's just what it is, and I can't be mad about it. You know what I mean? I understand it. The plunging sort of deep push is sort of that Italian sex, you know, Roberto Cavalli. The feathers are really a reference to Cavalli's love of nature and sort of natural motifs and natural fabrics. The motocross leather set is sort of this like Need for Speed Cavalli, like women and cars sort of feel that Roberto has always sort of pushed, but at the same time, the leather is a thing in the 1970s that he showed on the runway. It was crazy and kooky and ridiculous. He dyed it in crazy colors, and that's what like people know him for. And so, yes, it's ugly. I can't say that it's not, but it's also Cavalli, and that's what Cavalli likes to do. Would I like to see a little bit more sexy and a little less weird Cavalli? Absolutely. But this is Cavalli. This is early 2000s. This is Y2K. If you're a Cavalli fan, this is it. Like, this is the vibe. These are things that have been, you know, in the 2000s runways. They're just adapted together. You might not like them together, but that's what Fausto Puglisi does. And so I can't expect Fausto Puglisi to not do the things that he does. So yes, it's rough. I understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, if you really look at the history of this house and the history of Fausto Puglisi, that's what they do. If you have a problem with this, sound off in the comments. This is like going to be the look, I think, of the decade that will go down in history as very tumultuous. But this is what Doja likes. Doja likes weird, she likes crazy, she likes wacky, she likes over-the-top gauche shit. And so a Cavalli collaboration just makes a lot of sense to me. Now, there is a second Doja look for the stans that really, you know, want a moment. This is a custom Jean Paul Gaultier and Vex latex set. I love it. I think it's so hot. I think it's so, so good. I love that it's like a full latex sort of head covering moment. You know, it lets the ponytail come out the back. I like the fact that with the Gaultier, you have these sort of textured little ripples of latex that create like a shell-like bust. There's a corset and there's sort of like an exaggerated hip pad moment going on there too. I like the fact that you have the bubbles on the sleeves. It adds like a texture to the latex that, you know, normally latex doesn't really have in that regard. It looks like a balloon. It looks like an inflatable balloon. It looks like a clown, you know, making balloon animals, and I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. I think this is more the sort of mainstream Doja Cat, like understandable style, and I think that that's great to have, but I also think at the same time, Cavalli look is also like the weird, wacky Doja Cat that people also like. She likes to cause a stir. She likes to stir it up a little bit, and I'm okay with that. But at the same time, she also knows how to like turn it out, and I think that this is the turning it out moment. So if you're upset about the Cavalli, don't look at it. Just look at this Jean Paul Gaultier Vex latex experience, because it's an experience and it's hot and it's kind of turning me a little bit straight. Next, let's talk about Dua Lipa. Dua Lipa. Now, first up, she is wearing a Versace look from the spring 2021 collection. It's a blazer with a sort of cutout on the side and some sort of like Medusa head. She's wearing it with tights and a neon green heel, and I don't really know why she did that. It's kind of upsetting. It's just blah. I think the blazer fits really, really nice. I just don't think the tights were a good choice, and the green heels, I think, on the tights just sort of make it strange. It wasn't great. It just wasn't. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't explain it away any further. I can't. It just wasn't. But the next Versace look, which was like her real sort of red carpet moment, was this sort of orotani, silvery, sparkly Versace butterfly, crystal encrusted, sexy cutout dress. That, to me, was just like quintessential Versace. It was a very early 2000s Versace, which, I mean, Gianni Versace wasn't alive for, but I'm not sure if this is Oroton, and if you don't know what Oroton is essentially is a chainmail that Gianni Versace developed probably in like the late 70s, early 80s, and is sort of a signature textile to the brand. And here it looks like it's a little bit more of like a shimmery style, but maybe it's not Oroton, maybe it's just like crystals on chainmail, but to me, it gives that vibe. But I do love the butterfly style. I feel like Y2K is coming back in. The whole butterfly crystal aesthetic is really, really happening. I feel like it's a reference to like 90s styles that then Paris Hilton and other celebs of that early 2000s era sort of pulled into the early 2000s. And so It's a butterfly sort of colorful moment that comes across the torso, and I really like the fact that one of the wings sort of becomes the strap, and then the antennas of the butterfly become a sort of secondary strap. Normally, I'm not really big on a strap, but I think the way that it's smartly played, that the antennas become a strap and the wings turn into a strap, is smart. It allows the sort of design to lead the functionality of the piece, and I think that that's very, very enjoyable. I like the cutouts on the hips. I feel like that's really nice. I feel like it's very sexy, sort of Versace. The pink underwear, I think, actually kind of works. I think it makes sense. I think it sort of, you know, covers the area without being like too obstructive to the rest of the look. And I think the sort of long slit, again, Versace, sexy. Listen, as we always say, Armani dressed the wife, Versace dressed the mistress. That's the vibe that we're gonna always get from Versace, hopefully. And so you can't expect less. It's hot, it's sexy, has that early 2000s feel. I'm enjoying it. Next up is Finneas Eilish, and he is wearing Gucci. Honestly, I like it. I like the pink suit, I like the black lapels, I like the white button down, or I guess the striped white and blue button down, excuse me. And I like the little black ribbon string necktie. I think it's cute. It's not too crazy, it's not too out there, I guess for me. For my crazy and out there, it's not really nutty. I think for like the everyday person, this is like a little bit kooky, but I think this is like quintessential Gucci, but at the same time, I think it's nicely tailored. I think he looks very suave. I think he looks very chic. I think he looks very handsome. I'm not even saying that in like, oh my God, he's so hot kind of way. But I think that honestly, it takes the Gucci sort of weird, wacky Alessandro Michele style and adapts it into like nice tailoring, which is very Gucci. And so in that regard, I think it really, really works. I think it's nice. I think it's fine. I think it's decent. I'm happy about it. I really can't complain. Next up is her, and she is wearing Dundas. It is a sort of maroon velvet. It's like a robe, tunic-y top, and then a sort of oversized pant underneath. I don't love it. I respect the fabrication of it. I do like a sort of plush velvet. I think that's really nice. I do think that it has a sort of old worldy feel with the silver encrustment and embroidery that sort of pipes all around it. But I think that in reality, it's just a bit blah. It's a little bit sort of like lackluster. I feel like Dundas is a brand that is a little bit more exciting than this. And I feel like the oversized pant just sort of like pools on the ground and not in like a fun, nice way. I just feel like the robe tunic style isn't really that exciting either. Overall, it's just very blah. And I feel bad because like her won. And so like when somebody wins, I want them to be in like a moment, an experience, something that's like so wonderful and stunning and sort of plays to their excitement and exacerbation and, you know, persona. And like this to me just falls very flat. It's very blah. It's very boring, which sucks too because the fabric and the embroidery should highlight her, but doesn't. It's just not good. It's not exciting. It's not fun. We don't like it. Next up is Haim, the Haim sisters, the sisters Haim. They're all wearing custom Prada. Now this is based on the spring 2021 collection, but it's in this like periwinkle sort of blue. So let's discuss. On the far left, I believe is Esti, and I believe that she is wearing a sort of Prada, I feel like it's a shirt and then a pant. Now, it's sleeveless. It sort of has a Prada triangle logo at the front. That's what Raf Simons has really been trying to do since he came into Prada, is really push the triangle Prada logo. He's pushed it in different ways. Sometimes it's on the back of the neck, sometimes it's on the front. These sort of wrap jackets, it's sort of like a parka jacket, but it has to be held together at the front. But a lot of people attribute this to Raf Simons' work at Jill Sander. It's actually really Raf Simons nodding to Miuccia Prada's very early work, where a lot of her pieces you had to like hold like this in order to keep them on. So in that regard, I feel like it's a sort of interesting nod to Miuccia and Raf sort of playing on each other. I think the pants underneath I can't really see, but I love the shoes. I saw these shoes in person in the Prada store recently. They're really, really sweet. They sort of have this like spongy texture to them. They have the Prada triangle. They're sort of minimal at the same time. Like the whole look is sort of minimal, and I think that that is very interesting. I think it's very, very cool. Next up is Danielle, and she is wearing a sort of tunic dress and a sort of nylon-y pant underneath. Now, this to me has very like 60s, 70s feel. There are references to the 60s and 70s where a sort of like tunic dress or like a dress will be layered over a pant. And I think that that's what this is. Miuccia Prada really digs deep into the sort of 60s and 70s for reference. She grew up during the 60s and sort of became a woman in the 70s. You know, she wore a lot of Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche, not Paco Rabanne, but Andre Courrèges. She sort of was this like 60s, 70s sort of woman. And so to me, I think that's really what this sort of silhouette is a reference to, and I really enjoy that. I won't say I love the pant fabric. I feel like it's too crunchy and scrunchy, and it's really hard to get it right on a red carpet, because unless, you know, you like teleport people onto the red carpet, it's gonna move and it's gonna crinkle and it's gonna wrinkle. So in that regard, not great. But I really do like the historical sort of 60s, 70s aspect of it. I think that's really, really fun. On the far right is Alana, and she is wearing a similar sort of cocktail dress that's sleeveless. It has little Prada silver triangle, which the Prada triangle sort of silver logo is the only thing that Miuccia ever really kept from her grandfather's time at Prada. So that's why that's there. You do have a cutout turtleneck style underneath it, which is sort of very Raf Simons-y. It says Prada on the turtleneck right here at the sort of collar, and that is a very Raf Simons thing that he brought over from Calvin Klein, I believe. On top of that, the cutouts sort of do reference the spring 2021 collection. There were other styles like that as well. I don't know if it's really gonna work out in the way that they want here. It's there, but it's not really major. But again, the shoes are the same, and I like the shoes. Overall, I like the fact that they wore Prada. I do think it's fun. I do think it's different. I do think it's a little bit kooky and crazy and sort of out there, but I don't think it hits in the way that we really wanted it to. And personally, now I've seen that the Haim sisters do have their own sort of independent styles. And to me, this feels a little bit like too cohesive to me. I think that other looks from different product collections or from the same product collection that were different styles could have actually worked a lot better here instead of trying to like cookie cutter them. That's a little bit upsetting to me, because they do all have their own sort of vibe and their own sort of feel and their own sort of excitement that I've seen now at this point and really enjoy, and I would have liked a little bit more of their personalities each to shine through. Next up is Halle Bailey, and she is wearing a custom Louis Vuitton look just like her sister. Now, she also has a sort of gold tiger motif running through her cocktail dress and the gold and black stripes from that Louis Vuitton heritage inside of a Louis Vuitton trunk, which is very exciting. I do love it. And now I believe that she's wearing a head wrap that is a train, and in that regard, I love that. I think it's really fun. I think it's really exciting. I think it's really different. I mean, we've definitely seen styles like that before. I mean, like veils in general are sort of very long for weddings and sort of come down and sort of create a train style. I think we saw Guap Dad 4000, a do-rag style that sort of created a really long train, which was really, really fun. And so I feel like Halle is sort of channeling that and bringing that forward. I don't really think it's like the most exciting style in the entire world, but I think it's fun. I think it adds a little bit of difference. You know, it's not just your regular schmegular gown, and so I'm happy with it. I'm not mad. And also it has the sort of Louis Vuitton heritage style. It has the sort of gold tiger print as well. Like, it works. I'm here for it. I'm fine with it. I'm cool. Next, let's talk about Harry Styles. I don't think you could go a Grammys without talking about Harry Styles. First up, he's wearing a Gucci look. I don't know if it's custom. He is wearing a plaid blazer, sweater vest underneath, which plays in my mind to Harry's very like British grandpa vibe. He's wearing some sort of brown corduroy pant, which is like a little bit oversized, and I'm not really mad about it. It does have this whole sort of 60s, 70s flair to it. It's a little bit like rock and roll, but at the same time sort of like that British old man sensibility, which honestly I kind of love. But the most exciting part is a purple faux fur boa, though. Now this is from maybe this Resort 2021 Gucci collection, and in that regard, like, it's weird, it's kooky, it's different, it's out there. I think it's funny. I do think the smart thing about Harry Styles is there's always that like one little element where you're just like, yeah, all right, this is dumb, but I think it's good. I think it's exciting. It's a little bit out there. It's a little bit cheeky. Like, Harry Styles is cheeky. Like, that's his whole sort of brand, is he's like a little bit, you know, flirty and naughty, and like that's his whole thing. And so I think that this works. I think it makes sense. I think it's good. I'm fine with it. The look that I did love though, and like I can't stop thinking about it, is a black leather custom Gucci suit and a green faux fur boa. I don't think I've ever seen Harry Styles in leather before like this, or at least not like a leather suit. And I really like it. I do. I think it's very, very smart. I think Harry Styles likes to stick to sort of suiting. That's his vibe, that's his whole sort of shtick, and that's cool, that's wonderful, you know, unless he's putting on like a skirt or a dress, which, hey, do your thing. I think the fact that Harry Lambert, who is a stylist, brought in leather, which is a textile that we don't really see a lot on Harry, is really, really smart. It's not over the top, it's not crazy, it's not ridiculous, it's just a nice black leather suit, and I think that that's very, very smart. Leather is a very sort of signature style to the house of Gucci. I mean, pigskin was a very sort of early Gucci beloved fabric, and I mean, the Gucci loafers are always in leather, all different sort of animal skins, I believe you can get if you want. And so in that regard, I think it's a really smart sort of tie back into the heritage of the house. I think the fact that there was no shirt underneath it was very smart. I think Harry definitely has a sex appeal, and I think when Harry took off his green Grinch boa, it changed. It went from like campy, weird, super gay in my opinion, to hot, sexy, like rock and roller. And I think that that's sort of the thing that Harry Styles does very, very well. Again, he's sort of naughty and he's sort of cheeky and he's sort of like on the tongue, but at the same time, he is sort of like this man who has a sex appeal. And so I think that Harry Lambert and Harry Styles know that they play on both, and I think they play on both very, very well. He dabbles in his like weird kooky isms that like keep him sort of fashion forward, but the sort of like suave man that you know and you love is always sort of there. And I think that that's the smartest thing about sort of duos work, is that they understand what needs to happen and they never overstep, nor do they ever sort of be boring. So in that regard, this leather look, hot, sexy, succulent. Next up is Ingrid on dress, and she is wearing Armani Privé. I love this. Armani's not really like my brand, you know, it's just a little bit the wife, but this white haute couture suit, it's cute, it looks good. I'm happy about it. It's nice, it probably costs more than my rent. It's hot, it's sexy. And I think that in reality, this silver sort of necklace jewelry top that exposes the bare chest underneath is perfect. I think in a weird way, it allows the beauty of a Armani Privé gorgeous haute couture suit to be there. It's nicely tailored, it's probably made of a beautiful fabric, and it's classic, cool, clean. But at the same time, Ingrid, she's young, she's different. I have no idea who she is, to be completely honest. But now I'd like to know her because she's taken this Armani Privé and given it more of like a sex appeal. It's a little bit more interesting, it's a little bit more youthful, it's a little bit more daring, and I think that that's what Armani needs to be sometimes. Of course, it's always gonna be classic, clean, elegant, but when you can sort of make it a little bit more fun and youthful and cool, I think it expands it into a more vast audience. And I think that that's what needs to be done. And I think that in reality, this is the perfect way to do something like that. So in this regard, making Armani Privé desirable to the youth, very smart, very enjoyable, very hot, very sexy, very good. Next up is Janae Aiko, and she is wearing Giambattista Valli. It's a tulle two-piece. I like the skirt, actually. I think the skirt is really, really nice. The pink is sort of like blah, you know, it's Giambattista Valli and it's pink. Oh, I've never seen that before. I do actually like the skirt. I like that it's sort of like a mound of this sort of loofah-y tulle. I think that's really, really nice. And I like the fact that it's a two-piece. I do think that sort of changes it up. I think it switches it up a little bit. It's not just a dress. The top is a lot sort of looser in terms of how the tulle has been manipulated, and I think that that is really weird. I don't know why we wouldn't have utilized the tulle at the same sort of style. I think that that would have actually like allowed the piece to be a little bit more coherent, and it just looks like chewed up gum is like pushed across her chest, and like that's not fun. Nobody wants pushed up, chewed up, washed up, greasy gum all over their chest. Like, that's weird, I don't like that. So in that regard, the skirt, love. The top, meh, could have been better. Next up is Kali Uchis, and she is wearing Mugler. Now this is from the spring 2021 Mugler collection. I know that everybody's like,
singing Mugler shoots all the time.
Honestly, at this point, as long as Casey Cadwallader brings out these bodysuits every time and they're different, which he does. They're not usually the same, I must say. I think that that's what is kind of important. Doja Cat recently wore one and it sort of was like an off the shoulder style, and like I think that's smart. I think playing on sort of different silhouettes and sort of different moments in fashion and different sort of historical aspects, I think that that is the way for Casey to keep these really fresh, and he does have to keep them fresh because we've seen them on Beyonce, Doja Cat, you know, every celebrity has worn one at this point, or most celebrities have worn them at this point. So honestly, it's really about keeping them fresh, keeping them new, keeping the references interesting. And I think here, it's not, you know, the most major thing in the entire world, but I like the fact that it's an asymmetrical strap. Like, I hate that it's an asymmetrical strap, but I haven't seen that yet. You know, it looks like she has a third strap coming up here. It's sort of different, it's sort of weird, sort of kooky. It looks like the black is sort of creating like a glove-like silhouette, and they're sort of, you know, sculpting the thighs. And like, the other thing about this is it's very Mugler. Mugler is about sculpting the body through seams, through sort of contour and all of these sorts of things. So in that regard, like, I can't be mad about pieces that are quintessential Mugler, but adapted to the 21st century. They are very sort of modern. They do have a sort of athletic, everyday feel, and I think that that's what needs to happen to keep Mugler alive. So I'm not mad about these because I think that they actually work. I think they actually pay a really nice tribute to the brand, and I think that they actually make people look really, really good. So I have nothing to be mad about in these. And I think Callie just looks really, really nice. Next up is Lizzo, and she is wearing Balmain. Now, it's this green, ruched, straight down the front, sort of cocktail dress. So the sort of bodice is sort of ruched and sort of, it's not really ruched, I guess it's more so like gathered. But in reality, it's in this sort of, I'm gonna give it like a seafoam green or like a pistachio-y sort of color. It's like minty, maybe even. And honestly, I think it's in this sort of reflective fabric. I think it has a very sort of 80s style with the gathering. It's sort of prom dressy. I think the way that the sort of ruffles fall down the front in like a high-low feel, it just has a very like 1980s feel to it, and that is what Olivier Rousteing does at Balmain. I would have loved to see something a little bit more exciting, something a little bit more out of the box, something a little bit more crazy, but at the same time, I normally think that Lizzo tries to push it a lot, so to see her do sort of just like nice glam, I'm happy about. I think here, it's nice glam. I like seeing her with the jewelry on, I like seeing her just sort of look really pretty and polished and wonderful and not trying to be like campy or crazy or over the top. I think that when it's nice, and I think that it plays to the Balmain strengths. I think it plays to the fact that Balmain actually knows how to dress plus-size women sometimes, and I think, honestly, like, it's fine. It's there. It's decent. She looks really happy. She looks really gorgeous. I'm not gonna be mad about it. Now, Lizzo did wear Balmain again, and like this one I'll be mad about. It's another sort of pink gathered dress. It's an asymmetrical strap style. It's like gathered and pulled at all different parts. And then there's a slit with the ruffles that sort of create like an ugly sort of end of the curtain feel. And like, this is bad to me. The last one felt a little bit more polished. Like, it was symmetrical. It was easy to understand. It was sort of crisp and clean. It was good. This to me is hodgepodge of every single idea in the atelier, throw it on there. And I don't understand why we still do this. You don't need an asymmetrical strap and a weird sort of rectangular slit and ruffles and gathering in all different directions. It's just too much. It's just a lot. Like, the second look could have just been a really nicely tailored suit with like pagoda shoulders or something like that for Lizzo. It did not have to be this ugly, reflective pink dress of every idea and the kitchen sink thrown on it. And like, that's my upsetment with designers and red carpets, is just, it's editing. Olivier, love you. Learn how to edit sometimes. And like, this is a great example of editing is important. Next up is Megan Thee Stallion, and she's wearing Dolce & Gabbana. And like, honestly, let's talk about it. It's Dolce & Gabbana, so like, problematic. If you don't know, we hate Dolce & Gabbana. From my understanding, the reason that we're seeing a lot of Dolce & Gabbana on the carpet is their head of VIP is apparently very good. They're very good at what they do. So if you're really wondering why we keep seeing this, is I don't know if Dolce is like writing fat checks to celebrities to wear the pieces, or there are certain celebrities that can't pull for red carpets, and Dolce sort of sweeps in and sort of like says, we'll make a look for you. This dress for Megan, honestly, I don't even think it's really that good. Like, I like the big bow in the back. I think the orange is sort of, you know, nice or whatever. But the front I think is strange. I don't understand the folding over the fabric at the bust. I don't understand then a waist belt, because then it leaves this like weird little tiny strip of fabric to sort of like be strange and weird. I'd rather they just done a whole sort of fold over that went all the way to the waist, and then it would have, I don't know, maintained some sort of thing. You know, there's a train and there's a slit and there's the big bow in the back, and like, it's just very busy and it doesn't really need to be. I just feel like, I don't know, there are other brands that Megan could have worn. Like Christopher John Rogers, I think would have been really, really, really great. I mean, you want color, you want volume, you want texture. Like Christopher John Rogers, easy peasy. I also feel like she's formed a relationship with Alaya, and like, I would have loved to see Meg in a really nice, beautiful, sort of like sexy knit Alaya look. Peter Moulier is now the creative director of Alaya, and I feel like that would have been a great moment for him to sort of sweep in and make a moment and like serve and sort of say, this is the new Alaya, this is what's happening, and like, I don't understand why that didn't happen. So in reality, listen, love Megan, very happy for her to win her awards and all of those sorts of things, but like, it's just not, it's Dolce, and it's not really even good Dolce, so ugh. Next up is Mickey Guyton, and she is wearing Valentino. Now, it's a sort of simple strapless slip gown that is covered by a chiffon that's full of butterfly and floral embroidery. And I mean, like, to be completely honest, when I look at the embroidery, I just know it took a lot of time. I know it took a lot of effort. Glittery, it's shimmery, there's butterflies all over it. It almost looks like butterflies caught in a net. Like, that's cute, but it's not really doing anything for me. It's not really super duper exciting. It's not really super duper interesting. It's not really super duper fun. I would have rather seen like an haute couture look from the most recent collection on here. So, well, yes, you know, it's pretty, but like, nah, it's not doing a lot for me. I want Mickey to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more out there. And this to me just feels very safe. Next up is Noah Cyrus, and she is wearing Schiaparelli haute couture. I believe this is the spring 2021 collection that just happened. This is the finale look. I love this. I think this is stunning. I think this is beautiful. I think she took a page out of her sister's book and knew exactly what she was doing. This is great. I love this dress. I think it's form-fitting. I think it adds a sort of, you know, beautiful sort of classic figure to Noah Cyrus. I think it's a good sort of introduction to her. The swag at the front, I'm not really sure about. I don't know if that was like part of the original look. I'm gonna need some time on it, but you know, I might say like, oh, it's a little bit surrealist, and you know, throw it in there and be okay with it. Kind of growing on, I don't know why it's growing on me, but like something about it, creating the texture at the knees there and the sort of swag and the way the fabric sort of pools and creates like a little pocket is interesting. But the most exciting part about it is the gigantic poofs of fabric that shoot out from the back and the shoulders and the straps. And now people are gonna be like, this is ridiculous. This is Noah Cyrus being worn by Schiaparelli. Well, listen, from the very beginning of Daniel Roseberry doing Schiaparelli, these gigantic sort of cloud, taffeta, silky, satiny fabric poofs were like part of the brand. And so in reality, to me, this is just another style of that. And so if you don't understand it, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to understand it. We don't need you to understand it. But I love it. I think it's stunning. I think it's beautiful. I think it adds excitement. I think it adds drama. I think it adds that sort of Schiaparelli surrealist sort of difference, that sort of avant-gardeness that you love about, you know, Elsa Schiaparelli and Daniel Roseberry's work. And so in that regard, I think it's really, really smart. And I think Daniel Roseberry, honestly, like at this point now, seeing look after look after look, I've come to really realize that he has put this brand back on the map in a really smart way, and I'm very happy about it. The girls want to wear Schiaparelli haute couture and Schiaparelli regularly. And I think that that's a feat for a designer. But it's also an even bigger feat that the people watching the red carpet like to see these styles. I think people have real reactions to Schiaparelli looks that normally you might not have to a pretty dress or something that's just sort of sequins or blah or boring or whatever. There's something that people have like a visceral reaction to, and I think that that's great about fashion. I think that gets people talking. It gets people excited about a brand, and so in that regard, beautiful, stunning, love it, gorgeous. Next up is Phoebe Bridgers, and she is wearing Thom Browne. Now, this is from the spring 2018 collection. Now, I don't know much about Phoebe Bridgers, but I do know that she likes a skeleton costume. So if you're wondering why she's wearing a skeleton, that's sort of the reference here. I get it. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. You know, the embroidery of this dress, it's stunning. Like, it's really, really beautiful. It creates such a gorgeous figure. It's probably a reference back to Schiaparelli skeleton dress sort of style, or it might just be Thom Browne adapting like costumes from like Halloween, which also could just be very Thom Browne. My biggest issue is the fit of this. I don't understand if she doesn't have a stylist. I don't understand if she doesn't have a tailor, but like the ribs falling over and like touching on the pelvis is not good. Somebody should have like adapted this look to actually fit her, and that's a problem because the ill-fitting thing totally kills the vibe of it. Like, if it fit well, you'd be like, oh, this is kind of cool, this is kind of interesting, but it doesn't fit good, and so it's very strange. I don't know why this was not fixed. I don't understand why this issue was not corrected, because in reality, it could have been really fun, but because it doesn't fit, it like sags over, and it's really uncomfortable to look at. My other issue is the ballet flats. Listen, why are we wearing ballet flats on the red carpet? I'm not saying that you have to wear a 17-inch heel. You don't even have to wear a 6-inch. You don't even have to wear a 4-inch, but like ballet flats? Girls, please, let's get it together. Let's figure it out, because this is not the moment. This is not cute. It's not exciting. It's not different. It's not cool. It's not wonderful. It's ugh. So honestly, Phoebe, I don't know what's going on, but like we're having fit issues, and that's the problem here, because it could have actually been like a real serve, but it's a swerve. Next up is Taylor Swift, and she is wearing Oscar de la Renta. Now this is from the Fall 2021 Oscar de la Renta collection. It's a cocktail dress full of floral embroideries. I will say, the embroideries are really lovely. Like, I like to look at embroideries because they shine and they shimmer and they sparkle. Oscar de la Renta liked flowers, and so in that regard, that sort of checks out. I just think for Taylor, it's a little bit boring. Like, I know she's an Oscar girl. I just think there are better looks that could have been worn. I'm not saying it's like a bad look, because I actually enjoy the way it looks in the lookbook. Like, the way it actually looks on the model is really, really nice, because you can see up close and personal, like the shine and actual, like, you know, the little sort of swags of thread in each of the flowers. And that's really, really nice. So it's the way it's shot. It's not really helpful because it looks cheap and chintzy, but it's probably a beautifully made dress. I can only assume. I respect that Taylor's stepping out of her comfort zone. She's not, you know, wearing like a tailored pant from Stella McCartney. And so like in that regard, I'm really happy about it. But I don't think it lands the way we'd like it to land. I do think there are just a lot better Oscar de la Renta looks that could have been adapted. I think that there are custom looks that could have been made for Taylor, and I think that that wouldn't have been an issue, in my opinion, from Oscar. I think that they would have loved to probably do something like that. I want to like it, I can't. It's just, it's not photographed well, and I don't think the shoes work here either, and it doesn't work, unfortunately. So I want to love it for Taylor, but I can't. The last person we're going to be talking about is Trevor Noah, and he is wearing Gucci. It's just a really nice, classic fitted, double-breasted tuxedo suit. I like the cut of the pants. They're not, you know, skin tight, but they're trim, they're tailored, they look really lovely. The suit jacket, it's double-breasted, so normally that's kind of like big and bulky, but here I think it's slim, I think it's fitted, I think the sleeves look really nice, I like the white shirt underneath, I like the black bow tie. I'm not expecting Trevor to like turn out some sort of crazy look because he's hosting, and like that's what, you know, he's just meant to be neutral. So in that regard, I think it looks really, really good. So I'm happy about that. So without further ado, that is the end of our video, but let's get into the best and worst looks of the night. I gotta give it to Harry Styles in the leather Gucci suit with the green boa. Like, it's the moment that I come back to a lot. It's really funny. It makes me laugh a lot. A close second, I have to say, because I really still love it, is Chloe Bailey. Like, that little Louis Vuitton heritage reference really like got my goat. Like, I'm still happy about it. It's making me kind of overjoyed. My least favorite look, I'm giving it to Dua Lipa in that first Versace. It was just blah. It just wasn't good. I don't know why we did that, because there are even better looks from that Versace collection, and it was so out of character for Dua. It wasn't good. So that is the end of our video. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts, opinions, comments, critiques. I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and TTYL.